Smith Show. Before I get on out of here, I had to talk about a story that's very, very important. And albeit indirectly, it involves...
The sports world is currently holding its breath, staring down the barrel of a situation that, 6 months ago, appeared unthinkable but now appears more and more likely. The old guard of the WNBA and the new economic reality introduced by a single player are colliding in slow motion. And the league is going to lose if the most recent reports are accurate. We're not only discussing a contract holdout or a little drama throughout the offseason to keep the blogs occupied. We are discussing Caitlin Clark's total exit from the WNBA, a move that would allegedly result in a compensation package of more than $100 million. These days, this is more than simply online rumors. The biggest and most influential voice in sports media, Stephen A. Smith, has successfully verified the existence of the threat. He has been yelling from the ESPN desk for months, warning the WNBA that their embarrassing salary structure, physical targeting, and envious culture are driving their golden goose out the door. Caitlin Clark won't simply be abandoning the Indiana Fever if these rumors come to pass. In order to accept a deal that at last recognizes her worth, she will be appending the entire American women's basketball system. You must examine the situation's cold, hard numbers in order to fully see why Stephen A. Smith is so enraged and why this $100 million exit strategy is even being considered. The WNBA is currently losing this numbers game. Caitlin Clark is more than a novice. She is a one-woman economic stimulus package. Some observers estimate that she was responsible for a reported boost in league-wide income in the hundreds of millions during her first season. In places without a team, we witnessed a 300% increase in ticket prices simply because she was visiting. Major League Baseball and NBA playoff games were surpassed in some demographics by TV ratings on networks like O and ABC, shattering records that had stood for 20 years. The charter flights were brought by her. The cameras were brought by her. She also brought the cash. And what compensation did she receive for bringing the league back into the mainstream on her own? A base pay of about $76,535 for rookies. It sounds like a joke when you say that number aloud. $76,000 for a mid-level marketing manager. This is a fair wage. However, it is an insult to the world's most well-known female athlete. Stephen A. Smith called this out right away, calling it a disgrace and a crime. He highlighted the ridiculousness of a business model in which the individual who drives 90% of the conversation earns less than 0.01% of the total revenue. He compared this to the NBA, when a rookie sensation like Victor Wembanyama enters the league with a contract worth tens of millions of dollars. The discrepancy is so egregious that it has given rivals a huge advantage. This is the source of the $100 million number. It goes beyond a wage. The e-market has been corrected. The WNBA's compensation structure is attracting the attention of other leagues, private equity investors, and European clubs who see a chance to grab the greatest asset in sports by simply writing a check that clears. However, Caitlin Clark might stay if it were only about the money. She earns millions from State Farm, Gatorade, and Nike. The WNBA's salary is not necessary for her to make ends meet. Stephen A. Smith thinks she is actually searching for a way out because of the surroundings. The toxicity is the cause. There was an odd, antagonistic vibe from the league's veterans as soon as she declared for the draft. This opposition felt intimate. Legends of the game. Ladies who ought to have celebrated the emergence of a superstar who could provide for their retirement, went on national television to disparage her. Diana Taurasi alerted her to the impending arrival of reality, a remark that sounded more like a threat than counsel. Hall of Famer Sheryl Swoopes attempted to downplay Clark's collegiate record on podcasts by making false claims, which sparked a huge online outcry. When Stephen A. Smith saw this, he didn't hold back. He referred to it as just that, jealousy. He maintained that Clark was seen as a danger to the WNBA's hierarchy rather than as a savior. They worked in the shadows for years to establish this league, with meager compensation and little acknowledgement. Suddenly, this Iowa girl appears and, in their opinion, receives everything they have ever desired without having to pay her fair share. They attempted to wreck her wave rather than ride it. SAS said that when Magic Johnson and Larry Bird entered the NBA, the veterans realized that these players would soon make everyone wealthy. They kept them safe. The veterans chose to haze her in the WNBA. There was an unquestionably unfriendly locker room dynamic throughout the league as a result of this mean girl energy, as the internet called it. You shouldn't be shocked when your biggest star begins taking calls from people who want to treat her like a queen if you treat her like a villain in her own league. The jealousy extended beyond social media and press conferences. It really was dangerous when it spilt onto the court. This season, Caitlin Clark suffered a physical toll that was unprecedented for a rookie. Everyone remembers the Kennedy Carter incident. The play wasn't about basketball, not even the ball was in play. The opposing side cheered after Clark was knocked tumbling to the ground with a hip check that went straight into her back. The league's response to the message was complete silence. The bird wasn't elevated to a flagrant until there was widespread public indignation and a media frenzy spearheaded by individuals like Pat McAfee and Stephen A. Smith. On the first try, SAS went nuclear and demanded to know the location of the protection. He likened it to how celebrities were handled in the 1980s and 1990s that you have to deal with Charles Oakley if you touched Michael Jordan. Wayne Gretzky was an enforcer if you touched him. However, Caitlin Clark's WNBA career appeared to be open season. According to Stephen A. Smith, the main reason she would consider a European or private league agreement is this physical targeting. The game is different in Europe. It is more about playing good basketball than it is about intimidating the newbie. Because the teams have spent millions of dollars on them, the referees safeguard the talent. Why would Caitlin Clark continue to play in a league when players are intentionally trying to harm her? When she might travel abroad, be treated like an asset, and earn 10 times the money, the commissioner refuses to suspend headhunters. The WNBA's attempt to counter the toughness narrative was unsuccessful. It didn't appear difficult, it appeared to be bitter. She is being driven to the door by that resentment. This is where the $100 million rumor begins to gain traction. So let's examine the particular unmatched league threat. This isn't merely speculative. WNBA players Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier launched the Unparalleled League, a brand new 3-on-3 basketball league. They quickly came to the conclusion that the WNBA pay were absurd. As a result, they developed a substitute that pays players six-figure incomes for working in Miami for only a few weeks. It is designed to keep players from abroad at home. However, it symbolizes something much more for Caitlin Clark.
Equity.
There are rumors circulating about the negotiations that the offer for Clark includes more than just a salary. It is a component of the business. It is illegal for the WNBA to offer her ownership. A collective bargaining agreement that limits her earning potential binds them. To sign her, the Unparalleled League has been using a full-court press. According to the first rumors, she was offered more than $1 million for less than 3 months of work, which is already more than 10 times her WNBA pay. However, the rumors increased as the WNBA season became more poisonous. According to insiders, the offer has grown to include long-term equity and revenue sharing, which may cause her earnings to soar. She essentially breaks the WNBA's stranglehold on her time if she accepts a deal like this. This league demonstrates that the market is willing to pay her what she is worth, according to Stephen A. Smith. There are other games in town besides the WNBA. Why would she put in 40 games in the WNBA for $76,000 if she could earn $5 million playing 3-on-3 in Miami for 2 months? However, the Unparalleled League is only one aspect of the whole picture. Europe has always been the real nuclear option. The threat posed by Europe is real, according to history. And no one is more knowledgeable about it than WNBA executives. We have already seen this film. Because her Russian team paid her more to rest than the WNBA paid her to play, Diana Taurasi, often referred to as the GOAT of the WNBA, literally missed a whole season. Consider how absurd that statement is. A WNBA star was too valuable to risk injury in America, so a foreign team paid her to take the summer off. International basketball has always had better economics. Large athletic organizations or government-affiliated funding support teams in Turkey, China, and Spain that view basketball as a prestige endeavor rather than merely a commercial venture. Moving to a Spanish club or a major EuroLeague team like Fenerbahce would be a radical change in Caitlin Clark's way of life. We are discussing personal security details, private drivers, opulent apartments, and a fan base that adores the earth she walks on. For a player of her caliber, there is no hazing in Istanbul.